something's going on, whether it is or it isn't. And the way we achieve that is A, belief and expectancy, B, disorientation and confusion, C, suggestion and repetition, D, relaxation and sleep. That's the memory aid. A, belief and expectancy. They've got to believe that you are a skilled hypnotist who can do this. They've got to expect it to work, otherwise it won't. We've covered that. Hopefully by now you've got that. We use techniques of disorientation and confusion, as you will see when I break down the session structure for you. So that, remember, fight, flight, freeze. So this freeze feeling of what the hell's going on, or I may as well give up, means you can rapidly bypass the critical faculty analytical area with the brain and get in where it's all happening. The end result they perceive, I'm not saying this is the end result, but if they perceive it and end up feeling this, as we know, feeling is not necessarily linked to reality, is relaxation and sleep, because they see all black and white films and think that people are out of it. It doesn't have to be that way, but that's what most people believe. So if you can give them that experience, so they feel that, then they will believe they've been hypnotised, and if they believe they've been hypnotised and paid a load of money and attached value to it and gone through an important seeming ritualistic process, then it's highly likely that it's going to work for them. Yes, again. So, final few points on hypnotherapy, the psychology thereof, because obviously then there's practical techniques we need to know, which is what tomorrow's mainly about. What I call the mind care mind rules. 8 simple things. Some of these we've already covered in different ways. We've covered them all really in different ways. It's just that this is the way I now read out. Number 1, each idea or thought gives a physical reaction. Well, if you believe something long enough, if you continue to be stressed, worried, depressed long enough, you will end up from that psychological state of mind likely causing yourself physical illness, organic change. Expectancy is realised, I think we've already explained that. Symptoms, I've just explained that. Symptoms induced emotionally for long enough can cause organic change. Imagination is way more powerful than knowledge in the human mind, I think we've already covered that. An idea, key thing, an idea will remain in the unconscious or subconscious mind until it's replaced by another, or until it's outweighed by enough other pattern matches in the filing cabinet that that's the first thing that's come to. And if, like the brain, in a metaphor terms, went, I'll just check a bit further on, oh no, it still says the same. Once you've got enough of them, then change. Until then, it will not happen. And at the same time, opposing ideas cannot be held. This also gets termed in conventional psychology as cognitive dissonance, which is also the reason why a lot of hypnotherapists and hypnotherapy trainers really dislike me. Because the thing is, by me saying and telling you that by the end of tomorrow you'll be able to equally get as good as, if not better, results than the vast majority of people who've done training weekend after weekend for several years, it kind of undermines what they're offering. And if I'm telling you the truth, it means that they're bullshitting somewhere along the line, or that they truly have fallen for the claptrap themselves when they were training and become deluded. It's one of the two. Either way, they've either got to admit, to accept that I'm telling the truth, they've got to admit that they were either deluded or conned themselves, or that they're purposely conning other people. Neither's nice to them, so that feels bad, and it feels like a threat to them. So it's much easier for them not to accept it, despite the weight of evidence and the weight of logic when you look at it, and the fact that if this wasn't the case, if it wasn't true, if it didn't work, then why are my students being so successful in the industry? It's easier for them to go, oh, he doesn't have a fucking clue, it's dangerous him, saying he can teach you in 2 days. Well, you know, you'll come to your own conclusions. 7, suggestions accepted and acted upon create greater ease of acceptance of further suggestions. In other words, people become more pliable on stage and more likely to do daft and outrageous things when they've already felt good about the audience's applause and laughter for doing something quite simple. They get led down the garden path, and then before they know it, they're at a point that maybe a mucky hypnotist tells them that they're the world's greatest stripper, and they might, inside their head, think, I don't really want to do that, but they're now at a point where if they don't do it, it makes everyone question why they did the other things. So then they can look daft, so actually, you know what, I better off just do this. But by doing it, at least I can go back afterwards and say, oh, what, I did what? Well, the hypnotist made me do it. At least they've got an excuse. Therapeutically, you'll see the relevance of that shortly as well. And we've already covered that, the more conscious effort, the less subconscious response. That's the try. Yoda. So, that pretty much ties up hypnotherapy. Well, except for these two. That page that we're coming up to, and this one, this is why I said I can teach you in an hour. But I've done that other stuff first, so you believe that this bit is true. So we'll start with stage hypnosis and group therapy sessions because they have a similar dynamic. The dynamic being there's lots of people, an audience, and you might get some up to the front. There are reasons why it works. One I've covered is the fact that they get to a point where they're down the garden path and it's like easier to do it. Next is peer group pressure. If they volunteer, they're kind of expected to do it, otherwise they're looked at. There's the karaoke syndrome element. You know, people who know they cannot sing volunteer at karaoke. Now, they tend to, some of them will give it a cover excuse. And you'll have seen this. Go to a karaoke night, I promise you'll see this. Watch people closely. You'll see someone who won't sing asleep. And then later on, DJ will go, okay, can we have Roy up? Roy is going to sing Love on the Rocks, Neil Diamond version. Up you get, Roy! And you look round the odd and no one's getting up. And he'll go, come on, Roy, Love on the Rocks. Oh, hang on, it says table number 26 over it. And you'll see somebody go, what, mate? Is that Love on the Rocks? 26? I didn't put it in. I didn't. Oh, don't worry, I'll tell you what, I'll do it anyway. Because they want to give out the perception, they know the shit deep down, but they want to give out the perception someone stitched them up. So that people think, oh, bless. And then when the audience think the shit, they think, well, you know what, at least you got up and give it a try. You know what I mean? He's going back and try stitching him up. And if you think about it, bigger picture, this all ties in with what we covered all day about people wanting to feel loved, wanting, needed, appreciated, cared for, cherished and valued, and all that kind of stuff. It truly does. The sheep effect is people are generally sheeple. They follow what the pack do. If you've got a number of people on stage animatedly reacting to something, it's far more difficult to stand up and go, wait, not fucking happening here, mate, than it is to go, oh, fuck it, I'll just do what they're doing. It's hard to stand up. You will get people that do, but generally speaking. Just the psychology of groups makes people more suggestible. Two particular social psychology experiments were done, behavioural experiments, call them what you will. Both involved a waiting room on a train platform. What they did is they got about half a dozen actors in there, some male, some female, and they were obviously all in on it, and they waited until a genuine person came in. And when they did, despite the fact that suddenly smoke started coming from underneath this door, all the actors remained nice and calm, looked down, saw the smoke, and just carried on reading their newspaper. All of them. And the vast majority of the time, so did the genuine individual. They just remained there. Until it got too full of smoke. You know, if it had been a real fire, would have been something really bad. Would have been the conclusion. And they repeated the experiment again. Only this time, the moment the smoke started appearing, the actors started panicking. Oh my God, wait, quick, we need to get out, we do that. And sure enough, our real person panicked like fuck. He was reacting to what the group did. Perhaps a slightly better example was when the actors, somebody walked in and one of the child actors took their ball and threw it at apparently a complete stranger and said, "Here, mister, let's play ball." And the actor threw the ball back, and then the child threw it to someone else. Come on, and went around the room and went and got to the real person there, joined in. As opposed to when they reran the experiment, and the actors, when the kid threw it, went, "Leave me alone." So the kid then would obviously, they'd see it happen a couple more times, "Leave me alone." So when it came to them, the real person went, leave me alone. Because they followed what the crowd did, what the sheeple. This happens with stage hypnosis. And to some degree with therapy. Another reasoning behind stage hypnosis is there are naturally attention seekers and exhibitionists out there. You will always get an element of those volunteering. And stage hypnosis works because you're working with group, the pack mentality. You're very similar, like, as I say, if you look at Benny Hinn, religious, evangelical preacher I mentioned earlier, or even better if you get the film Leap of Faith, starring Steve Martin, comedy actor, he's playing a fraudulent evangelical preacher, Jonas Nightingale, the name of the character, bloody brilliant. And the local police want to expose him as a fraud. He's doing the healing, the laying on of hands and all that. And the policeman fronts him, there's nobody about, no witnesses, and says, so, there's nobody here, there's no proof, I can't arrest you, just tell me. You're a fraud, aren't you? There's no swearing. Not in the film. I imagine there would have been in real life. And Jonas Nightingale turns to the police officer and goes, you know what? Maybe I am, and maybe I'm not. But what's it matter just so long as the job gets done? And the thing was, and the thing is, you can't question the fact that some people at these evangelical things do apparently get cured, because if it was caused by the mind, it's possible for it to be uncaused or unlearned that way. And if enough emotion is attached, and they heighten the emotion with the music and the belief in God and all this, miracles, well, it's not miracles, but what are perceived as miracles can happen. In truth, they're just changing the patterns, the emotions are stronger, so it becomes more painful to have the issue and more pleasurable not to. The rewiring's done. Obviously, there's masses of examples where that's sadly not happened for people, which kind of illustrate that, you know what, there fucking isn't a God. It's all, unless you believe there is. God is like hypnosis. It exists, or he exists, or she exists only in the mind of the believer. It's the same with sales, especially in things like timeshare. You go to a timeshare meeting or you're on holiday and they take you somewhere, you can have a lot of free gifts if you go and sit through this presentation on the result. And they will get you going, so, okay, is everyone here on holiday? Yeah, you're all here on holiday. Show of hands. Who's here on holiday? Go on, do it. Show of hands. Yeah, and no, fucking do it, you twats. No, show of hands. No, I know you don't know. Right, okay. And they go, so, is this, show of hands, who's here for the first time in Tenerife? And who's been before? And, you know, that's good. Who's stopping all-inclusive? Okay, excellent. Who's self-catering? And the last questions that mean ultimately they end up getting people regularly in the room to keep going, yes. They're going, yes, me. So they're getting themselves in a mental frame set of yes, me. So by the end of the presentation, who'd like to buy it? Well, not buy. Who would like to avail themselves of this one-time opportunity here today to grab with both hands that kind of lifestyle you've always dreamed of, where you can come away fully safely in the knowledge that everything's 5-star. It's like 5-star royalty luxury for you. Who would like to grab that today? And they've already got a visual, and people buy into this. It's the same thing. It's taking them down the garden path. Up in sporting, you get the pack mentality. You know, football matches, you see them, but suddenly a goal, loads of people will dive up and go, yeah, and wave the flipping flag, and they're all, you like the fucking ball of leather so much, stop kicking it away from yourself. Sorry to anyone who likes football, I just don't get it. And Hitler, he did it at his rallies. Type in Hitler. There's plenty of black and white footage on YouTube. He'd get them into the same yes set. Who believed, you know, you'd have Goebbels, his warm-up guy, go on first, kind of warm up the crowd. And it kind of was the same thing. It was a hypnosis show where you might have, you know, a comedian on first, or the DJ, music man. You have Goebbels go on, wind them up, you know, and go, yeah. I believe in a world where we could do this, this and this. Who agrees? Yay! And he's getting them into the yes set. So by the time it comes on, you know, on walks Hitler, and everyone goes, oh, it's Hitler, arms in the air. Also, incidentally, this, you'll notice a lot in hypnosis, because hypnosis shows you get people with their hands together. Raise your hands above your head like so. You go to football matches, they go, yay! And you raise the scarf or the flag and they're waving it. You go to religious meetings, let the light of the Lord in. You know why? Because when you're doing this physical movement, your body naturally produces more dopamine. It's the feel-good chemical of the brain, kind of like the body's natural opiates, and start to feel good. Now, In a religious connotation, that could be misinterpreted as God is making me feel good. The sport environment is just the high of yay! The team's making me feel good. In a timeshare, so I really need that thing and I feel good about it. In Hitler, well, fucking hell, we don't even need to explain what that can mean to, allegedly. Stage hypnotist, hands in the air, try and separate your hands. Well, partly it ties the arms, we'll come into that later tomorrow, but also you're releasing dopamine, feel-good chemicals, so people can then genuinely end up feeling better than they did a few minutes ago. So they can think, well, hang on, I do genuinely feel better, so you know what? I don't feel as stressed as I did before. This must be a side effect of becoming hypnotised. And when they start thinking in terms of the fact that they're becoming hypnotised, arguably they're hypnotising themselves or convincing themselves, brainwashing themselves, call it what you will, to the idea that it is happening. And the moment they believe that and attach themselves to that idea in their brain, then arguably they are. And arguably that is where the only truthful thing in most hypnosis courses comes from. The fact that people hypnotise themselves and that all hypnosis is self-hypnosis. Hopefully that makes sense. That they have the perfect excuse with stage hypnosis. They've got someone else to blame. But it gets to the point where they have to take the kit off and they go, I don't really want to do this, but if I stop doing it, I've got to explain to all my friends why I did all this stuff before. So then I look a bit of a berg. But if I do this, go back to the audience, I can say, you know what, the hypnotist made me do it, I couldn't stop myself. And I've got two choices. And both of these happen, you'll experience if you do stage hypnosis shows. Sometimes the people will swear blind that they cannot remember a thing. Oh, did I do that? And this has to get into them and people having to tell them what they did, so they're getting more positive attention and praise, which helps them feel loved, wanted, needed, appreciated. I don't need to go through this. It's everything we covered all day. Everything interrelates, it truly does. Or they'll say that they remember it, but they just couldn't stop themselves. But again, that's putting the blame on the hypnotist, so then the friends will go, oh, you were really good. And they're getting more attention again, it's called wanted, needed, appreciated. There's a slight element of escapism as well. Most people live boring lives with their 5 minutes of fame, think the X Factor, Britain's Got Talent. Not all of them are totally delusional psychiatric cases, not jobs. Some of them know they're not that good, but you know what? To hell with it! My 5 minutes of fame! And you know, the pleasure that they can derive from when I was on the X Factor or Britain's Got Talent, I didn't get through, just heats, or whatever, is far more pleasurable to them than the bit of pain of people taking the piss out of them. It's the pain and pleasure principle. Which way is it anchored? It's everything we've talked about. Everyday life is hypnosis. I hope you've seen that, that's what I'm explaining to you. Even though that might therefore sound like I've just contradicted myself when I say hypnosis doesn't exist. But some, very few, but some stage hypnotists, there's no need to, but do use stooges now and again. People are paid to play along. That's not necessary, truly isn't. Find that waste of it can't happen all the time anyway. When you've got 12 people on stage, you can't be paying each one of them 100 quid a night, which is 1,200 quid, when they're only getting paid 750 quid for a gig set. You know what I mean? So it doesn't happen anywhere near as much. It might happen on the odd TV show, and indeed if you type "you're back in the room" into Google, you'll find that, you know, recently New Zealand Telly had to admit that on the most recent series of "You're Back in the Room" New Zealand version, they did employ actors for the first programme in the series. They tried going, oh, just, you know, because we need to be more open to suggestion. Of course they would. The suggestion of receiving however many New Zealand dollars at the end of the bloody filming. It's a very good suggestion, that, you know, money. Yeah, I'll show you. What time are we on? Yeah, well, this will bring us to a nice point. I'm going to put this here. I'm going to put this one here. I'm going to try and do this relatively quickly, quicker than I would do on stage, so I apologise. This isn't going to look as wonderful, fancy and theatrical as it would in the setting of a genuine hypnosis show. So with that in mind, I'm just going to pick, over the course of tomorrow, you'll all get picked on. Well, for now, can I borrow you, Darren? Yeah, and can I borrow you, Alex? Yeah, please. Give them a round of paper and tractors for what logically means when we're expecting something of them, why would you clap otherwise? So they feel like they're kind of blind. And also, if they're at an event around the perceived expert, I shouldn't really be telling you these things. And really, this is something that works way better when you don't know what you now know from this morning. So I'm really fucking setting myself up for failure, but nonetheless, we'll go for this all the same. We're not going to go through the usual ritual, we're going to try and do this very, very quickly. Have either of you ever been hypnotised before? Yeah. You have. Do you remember what that felt like? Yeah. You do? Yeah. Fantastic. So Darren, nice to meet you. So you understand that when you were hypnotised, some people have said, you know, it's different for everyone, but some people have said that when they were hypnotised, they've said to me that it's very relaxing, a bit slightly spacey. I mean, kind of how did it feel for you?
Yeah, like I described earlier, just relaxing.
And you know that when you were hypnotised properly and you were using your powers of mind right, at the very moment the hypnotist said sleep, your eyes kind of closed instantly, didn't they? And your head fell forward onto your chest. And you entered that state that was lovely and relaxing and felt fantastic right then, didn't you? Yeah. Okay. There's a way we could get you back to that wonderful state very, very quickly, rather than faffing around. But I need your permission to use a very, very fast form of hypnosis. Yeah. Got your permission for that yet? And you promised me that you'll use your powers of intelligence, imagination, and concentration effectively. Yeah. In which case, can I take a nice deep breath in and out. In. Look at me. And out. In. And slip! Deeper, 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 deeper. The deeper you go, the better you feel. Drifting down, sinking as loose around. Down, just like a loose limb ragdoll. Drifting down, sinking down, drifting down, sinking down. Every nerve, fibre, tissue and muscle in your body, from the tips of your toes to the tips of your fingers, becoming so limp, so loose, so relaxed, so heavy, and so tired that no noises distract you whatsoever. In fact, from this moment forward, any noises merely serve as a sign and signal to help you relax more completely. And your eyes will remain tightly closed at all times unless I say otherwise. But the very moment I say sleep, you can sit steady and firm in your chair. The very moment I say sleep, as quickly as that, a snap of the fingers, as quickly as that, a snap of the fingers, your eyes will instantly close, your head will fall forward onto your chest. You'll instantly re-enter this state, except each and every time you do it will be 100 times deeper, more relaxing and enjoyable for you. Fantastic. Nod your head if you understand. 3, 2, 1, you're back in the room. Wake you, rise and chant. Give volunteer number 1 a huge round of applause there, Darren. You should see your face then, Alex. You just shit yourself. Indeed. I'll tell you what, do me a favour, just stand up. Walk this way. I know if you could walk that way, you wouldn't need the talking about. But no, feet together, okay? Hands by your side. Tilt your head well back. Take a nice deep breath in through your nose. Now for a 3, 2, 1. Fuck it. Sleep! Sleep, sleep. Eyes remaining tightly closed at all times unless I say otherwise. Eyes remaining tightly closed at all times unless I say otherwise. No noises will distract you whatsoever. In fact, any noises merely serve as a sign and a signal to help you relax more completely. In a few moments' time, when I lift up your left arm, when I lift up your left arm, it will not bother you, worry you, or concern you. In fact, as I drop it down to the floor, it just serves as a sign and signal to become like a loose limb, loosey-goosey in the wrist, loose limb, ragdoll, drifting down, sinking down. As the deeper you go, the better you feel. You wouldn't do anything daft like that, would you?
Well,
no, definitely not. Sleep, 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 sleep. Deeper and deeper. The deeper you go, the better you feel, and the better you feel, the deeper you go. I'm talking to each and every one of you, whether you're laid down or sat in a chair. I'm talking to you both. If you're laid down or sat in a chair, in a few moments' time, I'm going to awaken you. When I do, you'll find you can no longer count, say, or think the number 7. It's as though the number 7's gone completely. You can no longer count, say, or think it. So if you count your fingers, it'll go 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 8, 9, 10, 11, and things that normally in the past would have been 7, just number 7 isn't there, it's gone completely. Can't count, say, or think the number 7, not yet, if you understand. And the very moment I say sleep, as quickly as now a snap of the fingers, your eyes will instantly close, your head will fall forward onto your chest, you'll instantly re-enter this state, and each and every time you do, it'll be 100 times more relaxing and enjoyable for you. And while we're in this building for the next sort of 5, 10 minutes, whenever you hear the audience applaud like this, it just helps you access the powers of your unconscious mind and use your powers of intelligence, imagination and concentration more effectively. And if ever you hear the audience laughing like this, it doesn't bother you, worry you. In fact, it makes you feel fantastic that you're using your powers of mind so effectively. So I'm only talking to you now if I tap you on the head. Wakey, wakey, rise and shine. Yeah, Alex, don't worry, we've got the driver's name, we've got his number as well. Give volunteer number 2 a round of applause. You can take a seat there. And wakey, rise and shine back in the room. We're just going to have a little bit of a quiz. We've got to that point of the day where we're going to have a little bit of a quiz. Some nice prizes to be won. First of all, ladies and gentlemen, before we give you guys and girls a chance, we're just going to give the guys on stage a chance. We're going to start with a bit of general knowledge. I think you know it. Hand up in the air. We'll go with that. Walt Disney we'll start with. There's Snow White, fill in the missing blank. Snow White and the how many dwarves? Snow White and the how many dwarves?
7.
7, that's okay, you've got that one, that's brilliant. Just sleep, deeper, deeper, sometimes. Drifting down, sinking down, sleep. When you wake up in a few moments' time, you said the person I'm touching on the shoulder still cannot count and say, I think the number 7. You'll just find it really ridiculous whenever the person to the right of you gets anything wrong. Not yet, if you understand. Fantastic, wakey, wakey, rise and shine. Fantastic. So, let's try a different one. You didn't seem to know that now. Musicals. You might know this, musical theatre, you might not. There's some film as well. There were a certain number of brides for a certain number of brothers. How many brides for how many brothers?
8.
8. Okay, it's close, not quite right. Let's try something different. Wonders of the world, geography. How many wonders of the world are there? I know it's one of those, it's there on the TV. 8? Familiar, yeah, exactly. I'll tell you what, without looking, I don't worry about it, the fact you've got the answer quicker. Without looking, how many fingers and thumbs have you got all together? If you added them all together.
9.
Let's look at this logically. Count out loud with me, right? Look. 1. Say it.
1, 2, 3, 4.
5. And this time you've got 1.
6, 8.
No, start again. 1.
1, 2, 3, 4, 5.
5 here. And if you've got also, count 1.
1, 2, 3, 4, 5.
5 and 5 is?
10.
10. Perfect. So we'll start from the beginning. Let's go across. So, starting from here is 1. Loud and clear. 1.
2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 8. 9, 10, 11.
If you had 11 fingers and thumbs, how many would that be on each hand? 5.5, yeah, just sleep. Drifting down, sinking down, drifting down, sinking down. That's fantastic. You stuck fast in your chair. I know you wouldn't do anything daft like that, would you? No, of course not. You definitely wouldn't. Sometimes you have to just get more loosey. And look at your hand. Right there, as that hand comes towards your face, just sound simple, let your eyes close down. If your eyes close down, let your head fall forward. If your head fall forward. We're drifting down, sinking down, drifting down, sinking down. Just take your arm, it will not bother you, worry or concern. You just have to relax more loosely and dragged on. I'm talking to both of you in a few months' time. I'm going to count from 1 to 10. When I do, you will be back to being your normal self, and we're coming close to the end of today. So everything I've said is completely cancelled out in every way. We've demonstrated what we need to so that we can all learn from this. So 1, 2, 3, everything I've said is completely cancelled out. You find that the number 7 does exist. You can count. You can count it, think it, say it, see it. Everything is completely back to normal in every way. 2, 3, 4 and 5, lighter and brighter, almost all the stresses, tensions, worries and fears and apprehensions of days, weeks, months and years gone by are leaving your mind and leaving your body right now. It's on 5, 6 and 7, lighter and brighter, almost a huge weight being lifted off your shoulders as you feel yourself rising up into the chair. 7, 8 and 9, lighter and brighter. Whenever you're ready, on the count of 10, you can just open your eyes and everyone will give you a huge round of applause for being such wonderful volunteers. Wakey, wakey, rise and shine. You're back in the room. Thank you, Darren. I'm going to send you back first, back to the audience. Thank you. Alex, it's not very often that I meet somebody like you. It happens sometimes. I realise that actually you're better at hypnotising yourself than I am in this environment. So can you just stand up, please? And you know what I mean by that is if you face that way, face the front, smile, you're in show business now. Not very often, don't we? I'm here, you're safe, everything's cool, I'm not sure you won't get hurt. What I want you to do is put your right arm out in front of you like that. I'm going to count to 3, on the count of 3 I want you to just tap yourself on the face there. Say sleep at the same time, and off you'll go. Don't worry, you will be able to stand steady and firm, your legs are stiff and rigid, but you'll go sleep, and you go. Because I know you can hypnotise yourself, you've got that power of mind. That's why the suggestion didn't work earlier, because it's that part of your mind that goes, I can do this myself. On the count of 3, 1, 2, 3.
Okay, 1, 2, 3, sleep.
No, I didn't. I know you know what's wrong. You didn't quite tap yourself hard enough. Got to be a bit more. 1, 2, 3. I'll count 1, 2, 3.
Okay.
On the count of 3, just tap yourself and say sleep.
Okay.
1, 2, 3.
Sleep.
No, what do you got? There's too much of a delay. You tap yourself and you went sleep. If you can try and just get that this time, say it. So it's like you say 1, 2, 3, and I'll demonstrate.
Okay, 1, 2, 3.
Sleep. Practically at the same time.
Okay.
Yeah. So 1, 2, 3, and
1, 2, 3, and sleep.
ladies and gentlemen, that just goes to show you don't need to be hypnotised to make a complete prick of yourself on stage. Give a round of applause for your back. Sorry, I do apologise. However, what it is, I would do that in a real flow situation if I was going to get rid of somebody, because what it would do is this. It gets a laugh from the audience, but more importantly, anyone else who's left on stage, rather than thinking, oh dear, somebody's come out of it, or somebody didn't end up hypnotised, things are going wrong mentality, they hear what's going on and think, I don't want to be made an idiot of like that person. I'd much sooner be up here getting applause and laughter because the audience think I'm wonderful for using my powers of intelligence, imagination and concentration effectively. So by getting rid of the person in that kind of manner, it actually means these people are far more likely to continue being compliant. Does that make sense? Yeah? That didn't quite go to plan. I didn't get to demonstrate what I wanted to do because actually, Darren, you were a wonderful hypnotic subject. So I was going to use a technique called dual reality, which is a way of making it look like you've hypnotised people when you haven't, which is a bit of an oxymoron when I say it doesn't exist. But that will become clearer tomorrow, which I will cover tomorrow, but I just want you to realise this as we draw to an end for today. Stage hypnosis-wise, and I've said a similar thing to this already, but stage hypnosis-wise, you as the hypnotist perceived authority figure. When they volunteer, it just gives them the perfect excuse that it removes all self-blame, self-shame, self-guilt and self-regret from them for doing ridiculous things. So, because they can say, well, he or she made me do it. So it removes all self-blame, shame, guilt and regret from them. Which, conveniently, I'll cover that tomorrow, but conveniently ties us into where we're going to start in the morning with we know what you need to do to help the client, but we don't know how to do it yet. You know the psychology behind, but tomorrow we're doing the physical, how to actually do it. Or how to physically hypnotise people on stage. But it's the same with therapy, and hopefully by now you've twigged onto this, but with therapy, if everything we've covered today is true, which weight of evidence seems to bear out that it would be, or so many different people have arrived at the identical wrong conclusion, so I'm more inclined to think that it's the opposite, then that means that therapeutically speaking, the only person who can ever make a change is the person for themselves. And it means that there comes a point where that individual, if only on an unconscious level, I'm not saying they're consciously aware of it at the front here, but in the back there might be a point where, you know what, I keep drinking for this habit, or I keep taking drugs for this habit, or whatever, I keep doing this for this habit, but I do know deep down really, no, I don't need to do it, and I don't really want to do it, and I know really it's down to me to stop it, but the thing is, if I just stop right now, my family and my friends, they're going to say to me, why didn't you do that last week, or last month, or last year? And I'll get grief, and I'll get, and I'll have to admit, well, I could have done. It's my own fault for not doing it sooner. People don't like to feel that they're fucked up like that. They always like human nature for someone to blame. So, we as the authority figure, the perceived therapist, if they go along to the therapist and walk away and stop smoking, for example, they can go having spent a few £100 to the family and friends and go, when they say, oh, you don't appear to be smoking, John, or whatever, you go, well, actually, that's good, I've stopped. And when the friends go, well, why didn't you do it sooner, you silly fool? Well, I tried, but I couldn't, until I got help from this therapist. And it removes all self-blame, all self-shame, all self-guilt, and all self-regret from themselves. All blame, shame, guilt and regret is removed from themselves, consciously or unconsciously, or I would argue both, so that they can then make that change that they always could have made for themselves if they weren't just scared of admitting that they fucked up and it's their own fucking fault. Which is the case with absolutely fucking everything. That's why they say all hypnosis is self-hypnosis. That's why they call this industry the change work industry, because you've got to change something for there to be a different result. And the only person who can do that is you as the human being, or the client that's come to you as a human being. All we can do is facilitate that with a focal point to give them a reason and an excuse to change in a way that makes them feel safe. And obviously also because, you know, not often do people in life get an hour or whatever where someone's talking just to them with this positive intent that you transmit. So it's in an environment where they feel loved, wanted, needed, appreciated, cared for, cherished and valued. And if you use an important seeming ritualistic process, it's purposely designed, as the process you'll learn tomorrow most certainly is, to make them feel loved, wanted, needed, appreciated, cared for, cherished and valued, so it will help increase their self-image, self-confidence, self-esteem and self-control, so that those foundations are there that can grow stronger, so that you knock down the shitty negative pyramid that was there and you put in a nice new pattern for them to match, so it constantly gets positive reinforcement, so it grows stronger and stronger and stronger. Then ultimately they can make that change in a way that feels right for them, to use the phrase I used earlier, without having to ever admit to anyone, least of all themselves, that really they could have done it all themselves. With that in mind, Stu's got raffle tickets, I have them in the morning as well. We're all going to the Flying Horse, but at 8:15 we're going to Ruchi. You need to be at the Flying Horse at 8 o'clock. Hope that's given you food for thought. Don't worry, I purposely left a few questions unanswered. It's not that I've forgotten to address why certain things did happen or didn't happen. I just don't want you to know until tomorrow. It's all part of the cunning plan. And tomorrow be prepared for something else. Dress, waist upwards, as you would feel happy to be seen on a photograph. Because tomorrow, when you pass your exam, yes, there's an exam! Ooh. If anyone's got negative connotations with that, I'll give you inside track. You're going to pass it. But there is an exam to cover me legally, so that you have done an exam before you get your certification. Now, when you get your certification, you'll be able to photograph with me. Well, hopefully you will, if you're intelligent, you will. Being awarded it, given it by me, shaking your hand, but waist upwards only. So whatever's waist upwards, I will have a jacket on and look smart, so it looks the part for you, the credibility factor. But you need to look as you're happy to appear, for example, maybe in your own local newspaper, or on social media or your website, where, look, I've got this qualification, I know what I'm doing, I've just passed this course, where you can leverage that to get yourself free media publicity, like I did. We're back to the start of the day, like I did when I was 14, said I was 18, got myself in a local paper and got all the phone going, getting fee-paying clients through the idea of offering free sessions. So genuinely, when I said I'm going to give you exactly what I've used, I am. And slightly better, because I never had a picture of me shaking hands with Brian Howard and ran that course and awarding me the diploma. I just had to make do with holding it myself, like. It looks much better when you're apparently being awarded it, because the picture is the story. With that in mind, thank you for your kind attention, thank you for your cooperation. Thank you in advance for those people who joined us this evening. Those that are not, enjoy your evenings. See you in the morning. We'll be able to get in from just about 25 past 9:30. We'll be starting at 9:45 prompt. If you're not here, we will start at 9:45. But don't panic, because obviously everything is being recorded and will be in the members area for you by Tuesday night. With that in mind, thank you for your kind attention.
You are the man.
Thank you very much, Hugh. Thank you for that. Just
The script on folks, you deployed this room, these pink folders that you received.